Hello everyone and welcome to lesson 11.5 part 1, and we're looking at how do we solve ratio and proportion problems. Your remember task is on the screen at the moment, so please pause, have a go and then play the video when you're ready to go through the solutions. Just a pointer on question 3, please be careful, look carefully at the units and check if they're the same units or not, because remember, if they're not, you're going to have to convert them first before you can simplify. Okay, so please pause the video and play when you're ready for the solution. Okay, so I'll put the answers on the screen so you can check through your answers, but I will go through them as well. Okay, so question 1A. It says, what are the missing numbers? Okay, and the question's saying that 3/5 is equal to how many tenths? Okay, so 3/5 is equal to how many tenths? Well, what do I do to get from 5 to 10? I multiply by 2. So if I multiply my 3 by 2, that's going to give me 6, and it tells me that 6/10 is equivalent to 3/5. Okay, so your answer there should be 6. For B, you've got 1 whole is equal to how many fifths? Well, it's going to be 5, because 5 over 5 is 1. 5/5 is the same as 1. Okay, it simplifies to 1 whole. Part C, you have 1/6 plus a blank number of 6, so plus, we don't know how many 6 at the moment, is equal to 6/6. Okay, our denominators stay the same, so we don't have to do anything there. So it's just 1 add what gives us 6? Well, that's 5. 1/6 add 5/6 will give us 6/6, which is also, if you wanted to, 1. You can write whole, but you don't need to, okay? 1 whole there. And part D, we've got 2/7 plus 1/7 plus a blank number of 7ths is equal to 7/7. Okay, bottom numbers are all the same, so that's fine. 2 add 1 is 3. So how do I get from 3 to 7? Well, I add 4. So my answer there would be 4/7. Okay, the blank was 4. Well done if you got those. Question 2. It just says work out 2.5 plus 3.5. Okay, you might be able to do that without using the column method, and that's brilliant. But just use the column method if you're not sure otherwise. Remember, line up your decimals for your answer. 5 add 5 is 10. So I put 0 here, and I carry the 1. 2 add 3 is 5. Add 1 is 6. Okay, so my answer is 6. You don't need to put 6.0 because there's nothing there, okay? So it's just 6, your answer. Part B, we have 1, so 1 whole, subtract 2/9. Okay, this is where this part will help us. 1 whole subtract 2/9. Well, I know that 1 whole, if I'm going to put it in terms of ninths, is the same as 9/9. So actually what I'm doing is 9/9 subtract 2/9. My 9 stays the same at the bottom, and I'm just doing 9 take away 2. 9 take away 2 is 7, so my answer is 7/9. The next one, part C, we do 3/4 multiplied by 100, okay? Hopefully you knew that straight away, would be 75. If not, when you multiply with fractions, you multiply the numerators together and you multiply the denominators together, okay? So essentially, what we're doing there is actually 3/4 multiplied by 100 over 1. 100 ones, okay? 3 times 100 is 300. 4 times 1 is 4. So then you're doing 300 divided by 4, and that would get you to 75. Okay? But hopefully you knew that 3/4 of 100 is 75. You know 3/4 is 0.75 as a decimal. You multiply that by 100. You're moving your decimal 1, 2 places to the right, and that gives you 75. Okay? Whatever way you did it is absolutely fine. Part D. You have 2/5 multiplied by 20. Okay? So you divide by the denominator times by the numerator, or we can multiply across and simplify. I'll start by multiplying across and simplifying, as that's what I did in the last example, and then otherwise I'm going to divide by my denominator times by my numerator in the second option that I'll show you. So the first one, I'm going to put that as 20 over 1, because that just simplifies down to 20. 2 times 20 is 40. 5 times 1 is 5. And remember, fractions represent division. 40 divided by 5 is 8. So my answer is 8. Okay, so that's one way you could have done it. The other way you can do it, times by 20, okay, because it's a fraction of amount. You divide by your denominator times by your numerator. So I do 20 divided by 5, which equals 4. And then I multiply that by my numerator, which was 2, and that gives me 8 as well. Okay, doesn't matter how you did it, as long as you got to the right answer. Question 3. We're simplifying ratios, okay? So this is something you've done in the recent lessons that we've looked at together. So hopefully you were able to do this without issue. For 3A, we've got 2 to 2.5 to 1.5. And it just has asked us to simplify the ratios. And remember, we don't keep decimals in our ratios, so we need to simplify it by removing the decimals and having it in its simplest form with a whole number answer. Okay? There's 2 ways you could have done it. Now, as all of my decimal numbers in this ratio end in a 0.5, I know I can multiply it by 2 and that will get rid of my decimal. So if I multiply all the numbers in my ratio by 2, I will get rid of my decimals because they end in 0.5. 2 times 2 is 4. 2.5 times 2 is 5. And 1.5 times 2 is 3. Okay? And that is my answer in its simplest form. The other way you could have done it, if I rewrite it here, is get rid of the decimals by multiplying each of the numbers by 10, okay? Multiply that by 10, it gets rid of my decimal. So if I multiply them all by 10, I will get a ratio without the decimals, but it's not going to be in its simplest form. So 20 to 25 to 15. And from here now, I would need to simplify. I can see they're all divisible by 5 because they end in 0 or 5. So I'm going to divide by 5. That's going to get me 4 to 5 to 3. And that's our final answer, okay? So it doesn't matter, again, which method you use. If you don't understand this fully, I just always recommend using this method because it will work with whatever decimal you have. Okay, remember, if there's only one decimal place, you multiply them by 10, you'll get rid of the decimal. If there's 2 decimal places, you multiply it by 100, and so on. So that's your answer to part A. If you didn't get that, please can you pause the video and have a go at part B again. Hopefully you can use now my examples to help you, and then play it when you're ready to carry on with the solutions. Okay, part B, we've got 5.5 to 4.5 to 3. Okay, as with the previous example, as those 2 decimal numbers end in 0.5, I know I can just multiply them by 2, and that's going to get me to my simplest form because that's the only way I'm going to get rid of my decimal. Okay, so if I multiply both by 2, 5.5 times 2 is 11, 4.5 times 2 is 9, and 3 times 2 is 6. Okay, and that's my answer in its simplest form. If you multiplied by 10, you'd have 5.5 to 4.5 to 3. You're going to multiply by 10. That leaves you with 55 to 45 to 30. They all end in 5 or 0, so they're all divisible by 5, at least. So divide by 5. That leaves me with 11 to 9 to 6. Okay, and you've got to the same answer once again there. So well done if you got that. Okay, let's carry on with the next two examples. Now these are the examples. I gave you a little hint at the start. You needed to convert the units of measure. Okay, so we had for part C 3 litres to 500 millilitres. Okay, we need to convert our litres to millilitres first. We do that by multiplying by 1,000 because there's 1,000 millilitres in 1 litre. So that would give us 3,000 millilitres to 500 millilitres. Now we can simplify. Now, hopefully you remember, I always say to you, when you're simplifying the ratios, check whether the smaller number goes into the larger number. 500 does go into 3,000, okay? 500 goes into 3,000 6 times. So here I'm going to divide by 500, and I have to do the same to both sides, remember, to make sure it's an equivalent ratio. To divide by 500, that leaves me with 6 millilitres to 1 millilitres as my simplified ratio. Okay, if you didn't do it like that, you may have done it like this instead. So you've got 3,000 millilitres to 500 millilitres. You can see, as there's 2 zeros on the end of both, they're both divisible by 100. So start by dividing both sides by 100. And you'd be left with 30 to 5. And from there you need to simplify further. They end in 0 and 5, so you have to divide both by 5. So 6 5 go into 30, so it's 6 millilitres, and 1 5 goes into 5 to 1. So my ratio is 6 to 1. Okay? Part C, you've got 70 centimetres to 1 metre. Different units of measure, so I need to convert. Okay, I'm going to convert my metres to centimetres. I know there's 100 centimetres in 1 metre, so I've got 70 centimetres to 100 centimetres. Simplify, they're both divisible by 10 because they both end in a 0. So divide by 10, that leaves me with 7 centimetres to 10 centimetres. That's divided by 10. Okay, and you can't simplify that any further. My final ratio is 7 to 10. Okay? Well done. So moving on then, I'm going to go through a quick example with you. So the key point 5 there says a proportion compares a part with a whole. Okay? So a proportion compares a part with a whole. So in the example here it says, in a canoeing lesson, 2/7 of the group are girls and the rest are boys. What is the ratio of girls to boys? Okay, so 2/7 of the groups are girls. So this is like what we did in the first example. Out of one whole, 2/7 are girls. So we're actually going to do one whole, subtract 2/7 essentially. Okay, one whole we know is 7/7. Subtract 2/7. Our denominator stays the same. 7 subtract 2 is 5. Therefore, 5/7 are going to be boys. Okay, so that's if you just wanted to subtract fractions. However, to visualize it, remember, we have a ratio of girls to boys. That's what we're looking for, girls to boys. 2/7, 2 out of 7 in total, that's what that means. 2 out of 7 parts are girls. So how many out of 7 parts are boys? Well, it's going to be 5 out of the 7 parts, okay? So they've represented that with a bar model, 2 parts girls and 5 parts are boys, okay? And that then would help you, if you like it this way, it helps you then to make it into the fraction. Okay, because there's 5 out of 7 parts in total. So I should make this bigger so that you can see it. Is this going to do it from the, no, that's from the beginning, so let me just, okay, so pause the video please, have a go at completing this table. Okay, they've given you, it says copy and complete the table for different groups of teenagers having canoeing lessons. It's giving you either the fraction that are girls or it's giving you the ratio of girls to boys, so you need to be working both way round. Pause the video and then play when you're ready to go through the solution. Okay, so we've got the fraction of girls, or we've got the ratio of girls to boys, okay? And we need to complete the table so that we have comparable fractions to ratios, okay? So if 5/9 are girls, that means 5 out of 9 parts are girls. We know that 4 parts will be boys, okay? Because the bit that's going to make up the rest of the ratio, we need to add 4 to get to a whole. Okay, so 5 out of 9 parts are girls, therefore 4 are remaining that can be boys. Okay, the next one we had the ratio first, and we need to put the fraction that were girls. Well, the 3 belongs to girls, so 3 parts out of a total 5 parts, because we had our ratio together, would be our fraction of girls. Okay, we've looked at that in previous lessons, so hopefully you're okay with that. Then we have 7/10. 7 out of 10 are girls, therefore there's going to be 3 left that are boys. So we're 7 to 3. 7 parts girls, 3 parts boys out of a total 10 parts. If you add that together, that makes 10. And then the last one, we have 4 to 7. We want to have the fraction for girls. The 4 belongs to girls, so 4 out of 4 and 7 is 11. 11 parts are girls. So that's your answers there. Okay? Well done if you got that. And there's the answers there again if you need to check. Okay, so you've got some more questions to have a go at there. So please pause the video and play when you're ready to go through the solutions. Okay, so question 6 says, in a gluten-free pizza base, 7/12 of the flour is rice flour, 3/12 is potato flour, and the rest is tapioca flour. Okay, so first, what I'm going to do, because it says work out the ratio of rice flour to potato flour to tapioca flour, I'm going to write the ratio out with the fractions in first. So I've got rice flour, call that RF, potato flour, call that PS, tapioca flour, call that TS, okay? And they've told me 7/12 is rice flour, 3/12 is potato flour, and the rest is going to be tapioca flour. So we know it's out of 12, okay? There's 12 parts, that's what the bottom number in the fraction tells us. Our denominator says our total number of parts is 12. Okay, so if you wanted to use a bar model, you would need 12 parts. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You'd need 12 parts in your bar model. Of that, you know 7 are rice flour. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let me just check. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yep, you know 3 are potato flour. 1, 2, 3, and the rest are going to be tapioca flour. Okay, and there's 2 parts left. You can see that there. Okay, so 2 parts are the tapioca flour. So that's the 2 that would go on there. Otherwise, you just add them together. 7 and 3 is 10. How many left to get to 12? There's 2 left to get to 12. So it's 2/12. But that isn't the correct ratio because that's still got a fraction in it. So remember, when we're going then to the ratio, we just take away the denominator. It's just 7:3:2 for your final answer there. Okay? Well done if you got that. I'll just separate those parts. They're a little bit more visible for you. Okay, question 7 says a 5p coin used to be made of copper and nickel in the ratio 3:1. Okay, so copper to nickel, 3:1. What fraction of the coin was A, copper? So A, there's 3 parts copper. That's our numerator, our top number. Out of a total of 3 plus 1 is 4 parts. Okay, so 3/4 were copper. And then it wants to know what fraction was nickel. Well, 1 part belongs to nickel out of a total 4 parts. So 1/4 is the answer for nickel. Okay, they've modelled that for you. They've done a little bar model there with 3 parts copper, 1 part nickel, so that then you could convert it into your fraction. Well done if you got those correct. Okay, there's the answers there again. You've just done those. Okay, I'll make this one a little bit bigger because it's quite small. Have a go, please, at these questions. Pause the video and play when you're ready to go through the solutions. Okay, so question 8. I'll put the answers up as we do it so you can have a look. But please listen to the solution as well. So question 8 says, Claire and Fiona share a cash prize in the ratio 4:3. So Claire to Fiona, 4:3. That's the information the question's given us so far. What fraction of the prize should A, Claire get? So A, what fraction should Claire get? Well, 4 parts belong to Claire, so that's our numerator, out of a total of 4 plus 3, which is 7 parts, okay? So 4/7 is the fraction that we expect Claire to get. What about Fiona? Well, 3 parts belong to Fiona, out of a total of 7 parts. So 3/7 is what we would expect Fiona to get. Then at the bottom it says, how can you check your answer? Well, you can check your answer by adding your 2 fractions together and making sure that they add to 1 whole, okay? So 4 add 3 is 7, and the denominator stays the same. So 7/7 is 1 whole. Okay? Question 9 says, a 20p coin is made of copper and nickel in the ratio 21:4. Okay, so copper to nickel, we've got 21:4. What fraction of the coin is copper? Okay, hopefully these are getting a bit repetitive now. So part A, what is copper? Well, 21 parts belong to copper out of a total of 25 parts. 21 and 4 is 25. Okay, so 21/25. Part B, what fraction is nickel? Well, 4 parts belong to nickel out of a total of 25 parts. So 4/25 is your answer there. Well done for getting those. Okay, have a go at the next questions. Again, I'm going to make this a bit bigger for you. They've given you a hint for question 10 to draw a diagram. And remember, it's asking you a question, okay? It's saying, is she correct? So you need to conclude as well as doing the workings out to check. Okay, so question 10. It says, the ratio of office staff to manufacturing staff at a company is 2:5. So I'm going to start by writing that out. We've got office staff, I'm going to call them OS. To manufacturing staff, I'll call that MS. At a company is 2:5. So 2 belongs to the office staff, 5 to the manufacturing staff. Joe says that 2/5 of the people are office staff. Is she correct? Explain your answer. Okay, it said that you can draw a diagram, so it's saying you can do a bar modelling if that helps you. So I will do that as it's advised us to. It said 2 parts are going to be office staff. So I'll do it a bit bigger. So 2 parts office staff and 5 parts of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are manufacturing staff. So as we can see, there's 7 parts altogether. Okay, she says that 2/5 are office staff. She's not correct, is she? Because 2/7 are going to be office staff. Okay, and that's because there's 2 parts office staff out of a total of 7 parts. So 2/7 are office staff. Okay, and the reason is because there's a total of 7 parts in the ratio. I'll write that because there are 7 parts in the ratio. Okay? Question 11 is a little bit more involved. So, red brass is made up of a mix of copper, zinc, lead and tin in the ratio 17:1:1:1. So, start off, write out the information the question's given me. Okay? Copper to zinc to lead to tin. 17:1:1:1. Okay? So we've written that out. That ratio belongs to copper and so on. You know that by now. Part AI says, what fraction of red brass is copper? Okay, so how many parts of that ratio belongs to copper? Well, 17 parts do. That's our numerator, our top number. Out of a total number of how many parts? So how many parts in total? 17 plus 118 plus 119 plus 120. So 17 out of 20 parts. So 17/20 is copper. How many zinc? Well, 1 part belongs to zinc out of a total of 20 parts. So 1/20 is zinc. Part B. In 100 grams of red brass, what are the masses of copper, zinc, lead and tin? So essentially what that is asking you to do is share 100 grams in the ratio 17:1:1:1. Okay, that's what we did in the last sections of the lessons. Okay, we're sharing ratios. So that's all we're doing here. Remember, step 1, add your ratio together. 17, add 1, add 1, add 1 is 20. And that's parts, total of 20 parts in our ratio. Step 2, divide the amount you're sharing, which is 100 grams, by the total number of parts, which is 20. And that tells you your value of 1 part. Okay, 100 divided by 20 is 5 grams. And that is our value of 1 part. So 1 part of my ratio is worth 5 grams. Step 3, we just share it with our ratio. So we have copper to zinc to lead and to tin. And that's in 17:1:1:1. So to work out the amount of each, we're going to be doing 17 times the 5 grams there, 1 times the 5 grams here, 1 times the 5 grams here, and 1 times the 5 grams here. So 17 times 5 is going to give you 85 grams. 1 times 5 is 5 grams. So the rest are all 5 grams. Okay? So we have now shared it to find out the masses of each in 100 grams of red brass. Remember, step 4 isn't part of your answer, but it's just to check you've done it right. Is 85, add 5, add 5, add 5, 100. 85 to 5 is 90. 95, 100. Yes, it is. Okay, so done it right. That was part B. Part C says, Lily has plenty of copper and zinc, but only 80 grams of lead and 60 grams of tin. What is the maximum amount of red brass she can make? Okay. So, I'm going to write out my ratio again, because I've just turned the page. So, C, my ratio is copper to zinc to lead to tin, 17 to 1 to 1 to 1. It's saying she's got plenty of copper and zinc, so these parts are fine, but she's only got 80 grams of lead and 60 grams of tin. What is the maximum she can make? Well, as we know that they both have one part, the most she can use of tin is 60 grams. She can't use 80 grams. So we're going to have to work as 60 grams being the value of one part, okay? So she's going to have leftovers lead. So the one part, we know now, is going to be worth 60 grams. That's going to be the maximum she can make because she's only got 60 grams of tin, okay? So she's going to use 60 grams of each of the parts that have one part because one part is worth 60, okay? The only one we need to work out then is the copper. And she's going to be able to use 17 lots of 60 grams. And they've said that she's had enough, that she's got enough. So we know we can do that okay. So 17 times 60 is going to be 1,020 grams. And I'm going to write the others all 60 next to it. So the question said, what is the maximum amount of red brass that she can make? Well, we just need to add these together. Okay, and that will tell us the maximum amount of red brass. So let's do that. I'll do it on the side. 1,020, add 60, add 60, add 60. All my zeros added together is going to be 0. 2 add 6 is 8. Add 6 is 14. Add 6 is 20. So 0 carry 2. 0 add 2 is 2. 1 add nothing is 1. Okay, so her maximum amount of red brass is 1,200 grams. Okay, and that's your answer finished. Okay, we'll try question 12 now, please. So I'll put it on the big screen and pause the video and play when you're ready to go through the solution. Okay, so question 12 says, the topping for shortbread uses milk, chocolate, butter and syrup in the ratio 4 to 3.5 to 1.5 to 1. Okay, like every time, I'm going to write out that information in my ratio. So milk to chocolate to butter to syrup in the ratio 4 to 3.5 to 1.5 to 1. My question says, what fraction of the topping is chocolate? Well, before we can work that out, we need to get it in its simplest form. We need to get rid of our decimal numbers. As we've only got 2 decimals and they both end in 0.5, I know I can multiply it by 2 to get rid of my decimals. So I'm going to multiply them all by 2, so it's an equivalent ratio. 4 times 2 is 8, 3.5 times 2 is 7, 1.5 times 2 is 3, and 1 times 2 is 2. Okay, so my ratio is 8 to 7 to 3 to 2. The question, part A, says, what fraction is chocolate? Well, 7 belongs to chocolate, so I know my numerator is 7 because 7 parts of chocolate. And my denominator, remember, is my total number of parts. So to work that out, I need to do my 8 plus 7 plus 3 plus 2. So I'm going to do 7. I know 7 and 3 is 10 and 8 and 2 is 10. So altogether that's 20. So it's out of 20 parts. The 7/20 is chocolate. Part B says, in 500 grams of topping, what are the masses of milk, chocolate, butter and syrup? So what that's asking you to do is share 500 grams in the ratio 8:7:3:2. Okay, so we know how to do this. Step 1, add my ratio together. I already did that, it's 20. There's 20 parts in total. Step 2, divide my amount that I'm sharing, so 500 grams, by my 20 parts. And that will tell me my value of one part, and that will be 25 grams. So one part of the ratio is worth 25 grams. Step 3, sharing the ratio. So I'm going to have, I've got milk to chocolate to butter to syrup, 8:7:3:2. So to work out my amount of milk, I'm going to do my 8 parts times 25 grams. Okay, so 8 multiplied by 25 grams, 7 multiplied by 25 grams, 3 multiplied by 25 grams, and 2 multiplied by 25 grams. And that's going to tell me my amount for each. So 8 times 25 is going to be 200 grams. 7 times 25 is 175 grams. 3 times 25 is 75 grams. And 2 times 25 is 50 grams. Okay, my step 4, I'm going to check that I've got that right by adding them together. So 200 plus 175 plus 75 plus 50. 0 to 5 is 5, add 5 is 10, add 0 is 10. So 0 carry 1. 0 and 7 is 7, add 7 is 14. Add 5 is 19, add 1 is 20. So 0 carry 2. 2 add 1 is 3, add 2 is 5. 500 grams, that's what I started with, so my answer is correct. Okay, so part B is finished. That's your final answer there. That's just a check, remember, okay? So that's your final answer, that's your check. Part C says, it's a different one, it's like what we've just done previously. Let me just make some more space. So part C says, you have plenty of milk and chocolate, but only 200 grams of butter and 100 grams of syrup, okay? So I'm going to write out my ratio. I'm just going to do that slightly to the side so I can just use the rest of this piece of paper. So I've got milk to chocolate to butter to syrup. In my ratio, 8:7:3:2. It's telling me I've got enough milk and chocolate, but only 200 grams of butter and 100 grams of syrup. Okay? What I need to say is, well, if the 200 grams is worth 3 parts, what will 1 part be worth? And if 100 grams is worth 2 parts, what will 1 part be worth? And whatever ends up smaller is the one that we're going to have to use because we can only use the amount of ingredients we have. So let's start with 200 divided by 3. Doesn't go exactly, so I'm going to have to use a bus stop. 3 doesn't go into 2, so we carry our 2 and make 20. 3 goes into 26 times with 2 remaining. 3 goes into 26 times with 2 remaining, and so on. So I know it's 66 something. Let's just go dot, dot, dot. And 100 divided by 2, I know is 50 grams. Okay? As that's smaller, 1 part is going to have to be worth 50 grams, otherwise we wouldn't have enough syrup. Okay? So 1 part equals 50 grams. And it wants to know what's the maximum we can make. So now we're just going to attribute 50 grams to each of that part of that ratio. I'm going to write it out again. Sorry, it's gone a little bit messy because I've tried to save the paper. M to C to B to S, 8 to 7 to 3 to 2, and one part we know now is worth 50. So I'm going to times that by 50 grams, times this one by 50 grams, 3 by 50 grams, and 2 by 50 grams, okay? And that's going to tell us the value of each part for us then to add together, okay? So 8 times 50 is going to be 400 grams of milk. 7 times 50 is going to be 350 grams of chocolate. 3 times 50 is going to be 150 grams of butter. And just check, yes, we're going to have enough because there's only 200 grams of butter. And 2 times 50 grams is 100 grams of syrup, and that was the maximum amount of syrup we had. Okay? So to answer the question, what's the maximum amount of topping you can make, we're going to add our ingredients together. So we've got 450 plus 350 plus 150 plus 100. So add those together. 0 add 0 0 0 is 0. 5 add 5 is 10, add 5 is 15, add 0 is 15. So 5 carry 1. 4 add 3 is 7, add 1 is 8, add 1 is 9, add 1 is 10. Okay? So that's 1,050 grams of topping. That's your answer there. Okay? Have I written something out wrong there? Oh, I've made a mistake. I've accidentally put 450 instead of 400 there. Apologies there. That'll actually be 1,000 grams of topping, okay? Or 1 kilogram. So well done if you got that. Sorry, I made a mistake copying it over. It should have been 400 there. So 1,000 grams or 1 kilogram if you wanted to convert of topping. Okay, so well done today. We're going to leave the lesson there and pick up the next part of 11.5 next time, okay? So well done. Thank you very much.